Yo, it's me, DDP, Diamond Dallas Page, and you, well, you're watching the game plan.
Hey everybody, this is Giancarlo Aulino reporting for the game plan, and I am happy to be joined by my guest today, who's going to be talking about his inspirational new series, which is on Tubi. He is the one and only WWE Hall of Famer and WCW legend, Diamond Dallas Page. How you doing, Dallas?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. I'm actually getting ready to head on Thanksgiving Day. Do you guys have Thanksgiving in Canada? You don't
Yes,
have
we have it a month
Oh,
before
you do. Oh, you have it a month
October. Yeah.
before. Oh, okay. Uh, so that's the kickoff to everything for us, and that's when we run our biggest sale, DDP Yoga. I never go off like 30%, never, but I do. I do over the over the Black Friday, which has already started. But I didn't want to. I wanted to go on this cruise with my sister and my brother-in-law. That's up the, I can't remember the name, Rhine River, I think it is in Germany, and it stops at all the Christmas villages.
Oh,
And I'm actually going to get to see Alex Wright. Do you remember Alex Wright? He was
I
for
think so.
WCW.
I've
Yeah,
heard
you
it. Yeah,
probably,
the guy that used to dance in the ring, Disco Inferno
yeah,
2, the tag
right,
team. Yeah.
right. Yeah. But he's a great kid, and his father was a professional wrestler, and big name in Germany, and he's he just followed in his footsteps. And he when he came out WCW, he was like 20 years, 19 or 20 years old, and he already had really great skills. But I'm going to actually be. I sent him an email saying, "Are you any near any of these Christmas villages?" And he said, I live in this one. I can't remember which one it was. So I just emailed him back just to say, hey, we're going on this Thursday, going on Thanksgiving, where there'll be nobody flying. But the airports right now are so out of control. And the worst day to fly is the day before Thanksgiving, but not Thanksgiving. And it was a cheaper rate. And I'm only going to fly first class. So that's expensive. But especially when you get out of the country. But looking forward to doing that with my wife Paige, and um, wanted to get. I mean, it's really amazing that some things you want to happen right now. A lot of people they start doing something. When you start wrestling, you want to be one of the top guys in the business, but you got to start at the bottom. Unless you're Goldberg, and then they move you along. But or Brock Lesnar. Um, but you want to start, in the get that opportunity to get to that spot, and it's a long and arduous challenge along the way. So we're going to be going over to on Thanksgiving to Prague for a couple days, and then we're going to up the Rhine River in Germany. So I'm excited about that. My wife's really excited, so that makes it really good.
That's great. And you mentioned there, like a lot of industries, like you're talking about wrestling, there also like you want stuff to be done right now. And it's perfect segue to change or die because
Right.
a lot of people want to see the end progress at the beginning, but it's a difficult and tough challenge. And you're open with all people that were in there participating that you had on and you personally picked. Two of them you knew well, and there were three others that you brought in. They didn't really know Butterbean and Marcus Buff Bagwell. So, how did this whole concept come about? And was it nerve-wracking for you before like committing to it?
We did it a couple of years ago because these guys were already in, the Butterbean and Bagwell, especially. But they didn't come in to change or die like that. And when I was talking about you want everything to happen now, but it takes time. And when we started to talk to different companies like Tubi, it took a long time to put that deal together with them. And I wanted it to happen sooner, but it happened right when it's supposed to because that is the Change or Die is one of the most binge-worthy uh, episodics that you can watch, and it's not a reality show. It'll get classified as a reality show. We were Yeah, that's why I want to do some, talk up in some PR up in Canada, because we have been the number one watched reality show in Australia. Which with no press, with no nothing, it just kind of took on a life of its own. And today, with so many different platforms, the thing I love about Tubi, a lot of people, oh, I don't have that. I got to pay for another subscription. Now I'm going to pass. And like, no, it's free. Like that's a classic move. It's almost like old TV, except for the the commercials. There's not 5 minutes of commercials. A lot of times there's 15 seconds or 30 seconds, or a minute or whatever. But the way they place them, you really want to come back. So you can't not watch the 15-second commercial. You have to watch it. So I thought that was really cool. But I wanted it to happen sooner, but now it's happening over the holidays. And that's when people will share stuff. And a lot of people, who, do my program, to a lot of people who no idea who I am. It comes to the fitness and health industry. They don't know, and they're going to find out if they watch Change or Die, because it's not, when we were first shopping it around, everybody thought it was a weight loss show, kind of, but no. And and then to eat real food. A lot of people don't know how to eat real food. They don't know how to read like what's in this food. The thing about Canada, like in the States, when we'll use Fruit Loops as an example. Like in Canada, I want to say there's about 8 different ingredients. And where they want to turn stuff purple, they use beets. Where they want to turn stuff orange, they use oranges. In America, we use dyes, and there's like 30 ingredients, and it's shit. It's complete shit. Kellogg is a humongous company, yet they will send you guys the healthier stuff, even though it's still garbage, but it's not like really bad for you. Like people eat cereal in my country, and I don't know about yours too, but like it's a meal. It's shit.
Yeah.
It's garbage. It's a filler. It's one of the reasons why we have so many problems. And, I think we're the number one, for cancer, freaking our health system really sucks. Now, yeah, if you can pay for the big doctor, then it's good and it's better than anywhere. But in this country, we can't sell you our shit. You guys want it. You want to have cleaner food. Kind of crazy.
And did that become more of an adjustment than you thought when they're in the house and they finally see that? Because I saw some of the episodes, but like even before they knew about that, was that more of a shock than you thought it would be when they start eating the real food?
Well, they didn't have a choice. And that's kind of like when we did the resurrection of Jake the Snake, which is also on Tubi, but it's also on Amazon Prime as well. When we did the resurrection of Jake the Snake, those guys were so beat up and so lethargic and just basically sick, without having a runny nose. They're sick and they're dying. Well, when they came to live with me, they only got to eat real food. Like, what a concept. Go back to the not even 50s. Go back to the 70s, which was 50 years ago now. But go back to the 70s and watch a Leonard Skinner concert, and everyone is pretty much skinny as a beanpole. You might see a couple guys who are overweight and they're 30 pounds overweight. Bigger guys, couple bigger women, not really though. Today, 300-pound women is a thing. 400-pound men is a thing. Like I know so many of them, and have helped them lose that crazy amount of weight. And it's just understanding what you are eating. One of the things I do when someone comes on DDP Yoga and does does the app, if I see them putting the work in, like we have a community of like, started with 5 people, now it's like 78,000 people that all communicate with each other and help each other and encourage each other. Like that's what the Facebook site was developed for. And for me, that's how I try to inspire people, by enlightening them. Like, because we're not like really a fitness company, we're more like a hope company. You come to me looking for hope, whether it's you've got really bad knees or back, or you're super beat up, or you're way overweight. And, very few people are already in shape and doing it. Like they're coming there looking for hope, and they find it, and then they become the inspiration. And the reason why is because they put in the work. And that's what Change or Die is. I smarten people up and make them watch different documentaries like Food Inc. or Genetic Roulette or GMO. OMG, like you got to know, when you're putting, like, you wouldn't expect a race car to put in ethanol, which is like the lowest form of gasoline. No, it's using the highest grade of gasoline. And whatever garbage you put in yourself, well, you can change that. So it's educating people more than anything.
Yeah, and also like you brought up hope there, how they're looking for hope when they're on Change or Die, and Butterbean is a perfect example of that
Oh,
because
wow.
he was extremely limited physically from when you see him, and then when he's on Change or Die, it's a long process even for you to just think of ways to help him. I even saw you post some videos on your Instagram about it, his journey, and it is inspiring stuff when you see the end product later. But when he came on, like, how did you think like you were going to be able to help him, and were you hesitant at all to take him in?
Well, this whole thing started for Butterbean. I was on a show, this podcast show with my buddy Rick Bassman, and he had his other guest was Flex Wheeler, the bodybuilder, and Boss Rutan, the UFC friggin' Hall of Famer. So, and Butterbean, and they were all on it. And at some point, someone asked me, "So, what do you got coming up?" This is like 4 years ago. And I said, well, right now we're working, like we're putting together what would be the protocol for a show called Change or Die. And Butterbean's like, what's that? I was like, if you don't change your life, there's a good chance in the very near future you will die. And it will not be pretty. It'll be ugly and, painful. And at some point I said, we hadn't put the whole, we hadn't put it together yet. It was just us brainstorming, me and my business partner, Steve Yu. And what's a really cool thing, so many people, put me over, like, oh my God, the work you're doing God's work. It's so amazing. And I'm like, it's not just me. Like I say it all the time. I have an incredible crew. And the first guy is a guy named Steve Yu, who, if you watch The Resurrection of Jake the Snake, he's the guy that Jake almost punched out, because he was using again, and Steve called him on it. And I wasn't there. I was in Costa Rica at the time. But in this scenario here, watching Butterbean hunched over and walking with canes in his hands, he'd put them underneath his arms, but it hurt like hell. So a lot of time he'd put the crutches in front of him and walk like a crab. When I first say him, and we use this in the video, I said, man, how are we going to help him? And my business partner, who's another guy who's super positive, he said, but what if we can? What if? And that's really, almost could say that's the signature line, besides it ain't your mama's yoga. It's, but what if we can? What if? And The Rock sent me he sent me three videos, not videos, three voice messages on Instagram. And the first one was was around Butterbean. He put it over. He was watching the Butterbean video, and 2 minutes in, he says, I had to call you up and hit you up and say, man, what great work you're doing with the boys." And he understands because he runs a huge company. And you and your, what did he call them? Not crew, he called them, I can't remember the exact name that he called them, but he meant to say you and your guys, like the work you guys are putting in to help people and what you do with Butterbean. I'm only 2 minutes in this thing. It's mind-boggling. And he wanted to thank me because the guys who really care about the other guys like Rock, and it was very cool considering, I love the fact that Rock and Cena and Batista, I mean, these guys are top A+ actors, and Rock is still the biggest star in the world. At some point, he'll get knocked off that spot, but right now, he's still the biggest star in the world. And I love it because he's one of us. So Butterbean coming in, I I was talking to him on the podcast, and Flex Wheeler, I believe he's an Olympia champion in bodybuilding, um, said, "Oh man, DDP, if you're going to do a show like that, will you bring in told him like 5 people I want to bring into my house?" And we did film the resurrection of Jake the Snake, and he's like, "Oh man, you got to do that with Butterbean. What a story that would be!" And that's how he got in. But he was sitting in a chair when he was doing the podcast, so I didn't see his limitations. I just thought he was big. I didn't know that he was in that much pain, like brutal pain.
Do you even see it too? Like as he's doing the workouts and stuff, and then when you find out like he does need the surgery, so that's his hope, getting the hip surgery. And then you have another person on the show who it's another inspiring story, Taylor, how he before that the TikTok videos, he wanted to lose the weight. Now he's finally on Change or Die, and you see his fitness journey. So what do you hope viewers take away from his story and his experience on the show?
Well, if you stick with it and you keep putting the work in, you can. Like, what if you can? And like, it was really interesting because there's a scene right in the beginning of Change or Die where I want everybody to weigh in so we know where they are, because it really was weight loss, teaching them how to eat, but most of all, teaching them how to reboot their brain, teaching them how to change the story they tell themselves. And before we got on the scale, I said, "So I understand that you've lost some weight, coming into this, and did you weigh yourself before you came?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'm 466." He said, "I weighed myself about 2 weeks ago," he said, "and I was 466, and that number scared me. I just didn't want to hit 5." And then he got on that scale, and I said, "Don't look down, just look straight ahead, because there's a robot going to tell you how much you weigh, so you don't have to look down." And he he heard 513 pounds, and he just broke down. You see, when you're really big and you've got one of those scales that moves, it's on a calculated, where it tells you what you're actually weighing. When you look down and then up and down, the scale's doing this. So it's going up. And one of the times it was going down when he probably did see 466. But anybody who's over 400 pounds, I always put them on that scale, the scale that talks to you and ain't going to candy coat it. You're through 513 pounds and 6 ounces. It's going to give you an exact, weight. And he just broke down, and I just told him, I said, "Bro, you're in the perfect place. Like, this is what you're here for." When you think about 513 pounds, now add to it, he's 5'1".
Yeah.
That's just a round person. and he's only 21 years old. His whole life was ahead of him. So him coming in, and Bagwell was a different story though, because I didn't think Marcus, I don't call him Buff because Buff could be a real asshole. And Buff would show up at the accountability crib often because guy was an addict and looked really bad. He looked really bad. And when he got on a scale, I was expecting to say like 230 or something, because his bodybuilding weight was about 235, 230, 240. He never really got bigger than that. But he wears like baggy sweats and stuff. And when he got on the friggin' scale, he was 268. I was like, what? And he got off. He goes, wow, I can't believe I'm 268 pounds. I go, step on it again. That's got to be a mistake because he didn't look it. But again, he's wearing baggy clothes and he had lymphedema, which means swelling in a leg on one of his legs because of just a really bad surgery that he had that never healed. So getting Marcus to admit that he was an addict, that took the entire length of the documentary, the docuseries. It took the entire time. And there's a scene where he's talking because I brought in, a therapist, and the therapist, addiction therapist, was an addict himself. That's why it's kind of like a lot of people who teach DDP yoga. Every single one of them are transformations of one form or another, and they're passionate about it because this healed them. So they want to share it, and friggin' Marcus, he did not believe that he was an addict, and mainly because he was taking pills to sleep, but he'd take them during the day too. And he didn't realize that because he didn't drink a lot, but when you mix Xanax with a thing that's called Soma, which is a muscle relaxer, like you want to know why so many of the boys died, especially from heart failure. A lot of them would take handfuls of Somas, like five, one, then after a while it's two, and before you know it, so the real guys who really stepped into that addict world were taking 4 or 5 at a time, and mixing them with painkillers. And have you ever been to a Comic Con to see the boy, or a wrestling show that has a bunch of the older wrestlers there? Have you ever?
Yeah.
Have you done that?
A couple of them, yeah.
Well, then you see the way they move.
Yeah.
Like old, really beat up. Unless they get with me. And if they're going to start to do it, like Jericho is the one who put us on the map the most. Very early on, right before the disabled veterans video went viral. But Jericho would tell the boys, you need to do it. It gets real. And I talked to him because Shawn Michaels had smartened me up, who's actually the first guy to ever do any of, he never did yoga. He did DDP yoga in the beginning, and now he knows enough that he can do it himself. And that's was always my goal for the boys. Let me teach you how to do this and make it your own. And Chris is in really bad pain. This is like 14 years, 14, 30, about 14 or 15 years ago. So back then he was like 40. I think he's like 55 now. But I think he was 40 at the time. And the doctors were like, there's nothing we can do. You're screwed. You're going to have to quit. But he couldn't even sing. But he knew he'd have to quit wrestling. And singing was hurting him. And I sent him the disabled veteran video that's, seen literally billions of views. And he called me back and he said, that's your guy. I said, you see me in the video, right? He said, yeah. He goes, I'll do whatever you tell me to do. I said, for real? He's like, yes, you tell me what to do and I'll do it. And 5 weeks later, he was 85% pain free. He was on cloud nine. And he was like, is everybody have the same reaction? I said, the people who do it, yeah, 100%, because you don't have to live in the pain. And for Chris, it was about getting back in the ring, just like it was for me, because that's where it comes from. I just didn't say, I think I'll make my own form of yoga. That'd be insane, because I'm the guy who wouldn't be caught dead doing yoga the first 42 years. But Jericho, 3 months later, he headlined WrestleMania with Punk.
Wow.
So he made it part of his toolbox. And now I would bet $100,000 that he's going to show up at the Rumble. I don't know exactly anything about it. I've talked to Chris, but I didn't even ask him because he's not going to tell me anyway. But yeah, he's gonna. I would bet, and then he'll have first round Hall of Famer. It's time to come home. You went and made some. I wouldn't even call it competition, but you and Cody created, and of course the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, they created another place for the boys to go and the girls and make money, learn their craft. I mean, you see what happened with Cody. That's just crazy,
Yeah.
but he bet on himself, that I'm going to go out, I'm going to make a name for myself, and then I'll be back. And bottom line is, he's the poster boy now. So I tell people all the time, and this is something that, we teach within our program. Like one of the things we just added was TU, Transformation University. So people who come in, like we have lectures and programs and challenges that go along with the app that help you stay connected. I know I'm bouncing around a lot, but they're all really connected. Tom Brady, I heard him say, and if you go back to where Tom Brady started, getting drafted like in the sixth round at 299 or something, somewhere around there, and then you see Diamond Dallas Page, who becomes a professional wrestler at 35, and basically a glorified job guy because people knew who I was from managing people and being that obnoxious son of a bitch. People laughed in my face. And I'm talking about my friends, like uh, you know, uh, Scott Hall, friggin' Michael P.S. Hayes, Jimmy Garvin. They told me I was nuts. Like, you're too old to start. By the time you figure it out, you won't be able to do it anymore. And they didn't know my work ethic. And no one knew Tom Brady's work ethic. So would you say that we both started in our professions at a similar spot? Would you say
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. That's a good.
100%.
Yeah.
No one saw it in him. No one saw it in me. He said, when some kid had asked him about his success, and he said, truthfully, he said, did he be successful at anything? The truth is, you don't have to be special. You just have to be willing to do what most people won't. Be committed, be consistent, and be disciplined. If you can do that, you can do just about anything. And I'm proof of that. And so is Tom Brady. So that's really what Change or Die is. If you watch it all the way through, first of all, you're going to be emotional because it connects with your emotions. You're going to be pissed off at times.
Yeah.
You're going to be aggravated, but most of all, you're going to be inspired. And if you look at Marcus Buff Bagwell, he didn't realize how much damage he was doing to himself. If he wasn't going to die, it would be, within a couple of years. So I mean, and that's really what we were looking for. People who, if they didn't change, they'd die. And I don't want to give anybody a death sentence, but at some point, if you keep living that lifestyle, like, you probably have no idea who this guy is. I just watched his biography last night, but Richard Burton was one of the biggest stars in the world, as far as Hollywood actor, and he came from Welch, and he had to learn how to speak with an English accent instead of speaking Welch. And what a handsome son of a bitch! But it wasn't his looks that got him; it was his craft that made him so over and such a huge name. But you would never think in a million years he's like another Tom Brady, and he reached the highest high, and he did it as a stone cold alcoholic. If he would have changed, he would have lived much longer than he did. He died at 58 years old. Like, 58 is young. You may not realize. How old are you?
30.
How old are you?
30 years old. Yeah.
You're starting to realize it. Like,
Yeah.
58 years is young if you take care of yourself. Like, I'm going to be 70 in 5 months.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
I'm not telling people to do shit that I don't do myself. Like, I am the guinea pig. I just filmed them. I'm about to put up some workouts on the DDP Yoga Now app. There's over 500 workouts up there. And no one can tell me they can't do it because they start off in bed. Like, if you can't get out of bed, well, I got like 12 workouts for you in bed that have nothing to do with sex. It's just freaking you and your body. And they get you strong enough to get up so now you can work out in the chair. Wow. Then you go from the chair to using the chair. That's where I started. But I never thought about doing it in the chair or in bed. It was my business partner, Steve Hughes, who said, if someone just tore their ACL, how would you treat that? Oh, yeah, right. I started off from bed, And that's what Bobby Fish, you remember Bobby Fish?
Yeah. Tag team in AEW.
Yep. But also at NXT.
Yeah.
And Bobby teaches DDP Yoga.
Wow.
I'd gone down to NXT, and it was my second time coming down there to work with the guys. And Bobby walked up to me and he goes, "Hey, man," I go, "Can I shake your hand?" I go, "Of course you can." I go, "What's up, bro?" He goes, "I just got to thank you, man, because I've blown the doctors away. I don't know if you know, but I tore my ACL about 6 months ago." And I was like, "No, I had no idea." And he said, "We used it into an angle so I could get the surgery and come back." Like, coming back in 6 months is unheard of for an ACL. Yeah. He said, but I started with the bed flex. That's what I call them, bed flex. Then I went to chair force, where you're sitting in a chair. He goes, "I've been doing stand strong, where I use the chair." He said, "But last week I went to using the block. I don't need the chair anymore." He goes, "I'll be back in that ring in another 2 or 3 weeks." I was like, "Wow, dude." I go, "That's amazing." And he would go on to teaching it. So, Change or Die is all about just educating people and showing them through example. And every single one of those people who walk in, there's a black woman who's 67 at the time. Her name is Mildred. There's a Hispanic girl, Cece, and Cece's about 5'7", 5'8", and 335 pounds. And she's one of those girls that when she gets under 200, she looks great. And I mean, like 190, she still looks great. And her whole life changed, man. So now, with it being out on Tubi, we've had a lot of people sharing it with other people.
And before we started recording, you were speaking about a review you got, because it's a perfect segue there. A fitness expert there, 71.
Actually, he's major corporate cat too, but he's one of those guys who just, hitting the gym. See, he's watched my career. He's the person, I do a lot of corporate speaking, excuse me. And um, I knew that he was he worked with Procter and Gamble, like the big, the big agencies. And he now is a consultant where he speaks all over the world, China and Austria and Australia, and his base is in Atlanta. And he's always sent me something, like um, when we went on Shark Tank, when we did HBO Real Sports, when Arthur's video went viral. Like, he was there watching from afar, but would always like let me know, like, wow, I love what you're doing. Yeah, you're nailing this. And then he sent me a text. He goes, I see you have a show out called Change or Die. He said, sitting down, big cup of coffee. I just downloaded Tubi. I'm gonna watch a couple of episodes, fruit bowl, and I'm off to the gym. So that's October 4th. October 6th, he says, okay, I surrender. I'm adopting Taylor. You can relate to that, right?
Yeah.
Because Taylor's, I don't want to call him a mascot, but he was kind of like a mascot. Everybody could get behind him. And everybody is, when people see other people, like every single time that I work out with Lex, if I'm complaining about my shoulder to myself, my shoulders or my knees, when I'm working with Lex and I see his unbelievable positive attitude for doing the smallest thing, like being able to stand up without using his hands on the chair, like, big deal. Hadn't done it in over 12 years. So when I'm watching him get these victories and how much it inspires him, I think to myself, thank you, God, for allowing me to have that pain. Thank you, God, for making me aware of things I need to do to take care of myself. It's the mental thing, and you get to control that. So we get to the next thing. It's the fourth when he writes. I'm watching it. He says, I surrender on October 6th. And I wrote, ha ha. I said, what episode are you on? He said, number 6. I said, keep me posted. The next day, he finishes it and he says, okay, I finished the journey. My first thought is, I now need therapy. What a roller coaster ride. 12 on a 10 scale. I haven't had much room in my life for heroes, but you, sir, have carved out an everlasting space. Like, that's one of my mentors. Jake Roberts in 1997, and I'm living the dream. Like, my shit is blown up. And two hottest wrestlers in the world in 1997 were Stone Cold Steve Austin and Diamond Dallas Page. And I get a call from Jake. And Jake makes me sound like I have no gravel in my voice. Jake says, congratulations. Like, Jake? So I pick up the phone. Jake? Congratulations. Yeah. Congratulations for what? Reinventing the DDT.
With the diamond
That
cut?
was huge. And the other call I got in 96, and the only reason I know this date because someone sent me the video. I was thinking, damn, that was a really good match. Might have been 6 minutes. The bottom line is, I'm getting to work with Sting. And it's no angle. We know he's going over. My career hasn't taken off yet, but it's starting to get a buzz. Really, like by the end of that year, I'll have been on my way. But this is the beginning. This is January 24th. And I walked into the Stinger where he was dressing at, and I said, hey, Stinger, what do you want to do? He said, what do you want to do? I go, what do I want to do? Right? You want me to call some of this? He goes, I want you to call all of it. He said, I want you to, I've been watching, and let's see if we get these people to think that you could beat me. I said, okay. I go, give me an hour. I walked away, and then I came back, and he loved it. And like I say, it's not, it might be 6 minutes. It might be a little less, might be a little more. But right in the beginning, like you're saying, Diamond Dallaspage, things are going to crush him. Well, right away, we did a spot, and then I went into him giving me the Scorpion Deathlock right then. And I get to the ropes and pull myself out. Like that would never have happened in 95 or 94, like he got out of Sting Scorpion Deathlock. That was his psychology. So now, let's see what he does. And that's the spot that I really was hoping to get to at some point. Like, we don't know who's going to win when DDP walks out there. Like, we don't know. And after that match, I walked through the curtain and I got a standing ovation from the boys. Because I'm wrestling for the people out there, but you can bet your ass I'm also wrestling for the boys, to show them that I'm coming. And, I'd never had a standing ovation before. Of course, it was with Sting, so that made it a little bit easier, but not with the boys in the back, And the next day, when I would get home, by that time I was working a lot, like a lot. And I would go to the gym, go to my applied kinesiologist / chiropractor, go get a deep muscle massage therapy, go get tan and get home around 7. That's my first day off. And I heard the phone go off and I just let it go to the machine. You remember answering machines?
Yeah, I still remember that. Yeah.
I think you would be the cutoff. I think 30 years old is about the cutoff. Someone who's 26, they have no idea what an answering machine is. I let it go off, and right as I'm running out the door, I hear, Page, P.S. I freaking ran in, Michael, P.S. Hayes, right? I go, Michael. I go, bro, it's been, man, how are you, man? God damn, motherfucker, son of a, I'm like, Mike, what's the matter? He says, Page, you know how sometimes when you call in the middle of the day, you're hoping for the person not to be there because you want to leave a message? I said, yeah. He said, you want me to hang up so you can leave the message back? No, fuck it. No, I got you here now. Paige, we saw your match last night. We all did. And he's in the office in WWE at the time and is still there today as one of the top guys in the office. And he said, we all saw it. He said, I got to be honest with you. I have never been so happy to eat crow in all my life. Great job, kid. Click, and he hung up on me. But again, Michael P.S. Hayes was one of the guys who literally not only laughed in my face, he fell down laughing. Like he thought it was the most preposterous thing he ever heard. Like, you think you can do this? Like, fuck, like anybody can do it. Like, but he didn't know. Like, he didn't know my work ethic. He didn't know I was a fucking amazing athlete when I was younger. And, you still at 35, I still had it, especially in basketball. I could still go. I hadn't beat up my knees and my back enough yet. But those moments are so huge. They stick out in time. And I honestly feel this is why I wanted you to do your show and talk about Change or Die. We can talk a little bit of wrestling if you want to, but I wanted people to this is something that anyone can watch, and don't do my shit. Find something else that you do yourself, but get the education of the mindset that'll help you. Like if you if you've had trouble, you know, I call it emotional gravity, pulling yourself down. You know, have you had trouble with that story? Do you tell yourself, like, if these people can do it, surely so can you. Like, very few people have really good self-worth. A lot of people think they're worthless. They're not worth, you know, saving or whatever, you know. And any one of them, you know, I've proved it thousands, tens of thousands of times with my program. Like, it works. But if you want to run or you want to, you know, walk first and then try to build a jog to run, you know, do that. You know, doing any kind of physical exercise is, uh, they call it positive molecules now. And like, it's a real thing. Like, the shit you think about is the things you become. And you could think about how, and the hardest, let me give you I'd be interested to see if you know this at your age. One of my favorite quotes of all time is, the repetitions of affirmations leads to belief. And once that belief becomes a deep conviction, things begin to happen. Do you know who said that?
I've heard the quote before, but I don't know who said it. Like I've heard it a lot of university sports that I cover. Some of them use that quote in their locker room, and it's been inspirational for them. But the actual saying, I've never heard what it
Okay,
originated.
well, let's break it down for starters, because if anybody's even thinking about doing this or thinking about watching Change or Die, I'm going to break this down for you. The repetitions of affirmations, those are the things that you talk about in your head that you don't tell anyone else. I'll never be able to do this. I can't do that. You know, I suck at this. You know, I'm not worth it anyway. Like, that shit. Like, if you continue to go down that rabbit hole, I'll just be straight with you. You're fucked. Like,
Yeah.
there's no saving you until you change that affirmation to, I'll give you an affirmation where I live. When I went in for my Hall of Fame induction speech, I had written a 27-minute, and they told me the day before, oh, DDP, oh, you should have got with me because you only got 15 minutes. I'm like, what? So now I go back, I rewrite it. The next morning, Foz, who's in charge of my speech, calls me up. He goes, hey, he goes, I'd really like to hear, you know, the speech. I said, I cut it down. He goes, well, I want to hear let me hear the long one first. He heard it, and I had him laughing and getting choked up and, you know, going through a wide range of emotions and mostly being inspired, that he went to Kevin Dunn and he told him. And he called me from Kevin's room and he said, Kevin said, don't go over to 30. You're number one. They wanted that to lead off, right? And so the voice in my brain could have been saying, oh my God, but what if my iPad freezes? You know, what if the people aren't getting with it? What if I forget where I am? Yeah, that could have been my story. But the affirmation I was telling myself was, this is going to be the greatest thing I ever do in professional wrestling. I'm going to make 22,000 people laugh. I'm going to make them cry. I'm going to inspire them. And it's the only voice from the minute that I went to gorilla position with my two daughters and my other two daughters from the marriage that was, you know, just, they still call me dad, you know, so my four girls walk up with me and I'm breathing in and out for 20. I know because I've counted it, and then it's just one breath in and out. When you own your breath, when you own that story you tell yourself, when you own discipline, it's like having three major superpowers. The repetitions of affirmations leads to belief. Whatever you tell yourself, you keep saying it, you'll believe it, good or bad. I'd rather it be good. The glass half full mindset. Most people, the glass is half empty. And some people, there's not even a glass. So that person who doesn't have a glass can have the half full glass. All they got to do is change the repetition of their affirmations. Once repetition of affirmation leads to belief. Once they become a serious conviction, things begin to happen. So I'm not going to tell you who said it, and you might be too young for this, and it's not a wrestler, but I'm going to tell you what he said, and you tell me if you think you know. He would say through his life over and over and over and over again, I am the greatest. I am the greatest of all time. Who is it?
Muhammad Ali.
Okay, so you're 30. Muhammad's been dead about 15 years. Around there. Maybe more, I'm not sure. Somewhere around there. You never could have seen him fight unless you were watching something and it popped up there on a documentary. But you know his affirmation. How's that possible?
Yeah, his impact and his belief, confidence.
I can't tell you how many times I said to myself, my career will end in the WWF. As a manager in the AWA, working for Florida Championship Wrestling, working those first 3.5 years, it cost me money to be Diamond Dallas Page. Then I finally got the break. Dusty brings me into WCW. He left the polka dots in New York and friggin', they brought back, that was such a rib by Vince, putting polka dots on John Wayne meets Elvis Presley. And as over as either one of those guys in his prime. Like, Dusty was the man. And you want to talk about a story he'd tell himself. One of the most positive cats I ever made and helped me to become this positive entity that I am. He had a lot to do with it. And he was just that guy that believed. And you're telling me that you know that because you know that it's Muhammad Ali because you've heard it a million times.
Yeah.
You probably didn't hear it a million, but you've heard it enough for it to land as an impact with you. And you could have said Tom Brady. Yeah. You could have said Michael Jordan. Yeah. So, but you didn't. Right? You knew as soon as I said, I am the greatest. And you knew right there, the greatest of all time. That just completely sets in. So that's proof positive that if you say it, you will believe it. If you say it enough, you will work your ass off because nobody thought Brady, once he got in that game, that first game when Bledsoe went out, and Bledsoe, they paid him mazillions of dollars.
Yeah.
Mazillions. And they went all the way to fucking Super Bowl. And won. That cat, you want to talk about a guy who really could dial in.
Like even there, like athletes that dial it in like that. You were around two of them in WCW at Bash at the Beach 98 with Rodman and Malone. And you got to see Dennis Rodman, who was a basketball player, champion, just come into wrestling, and a lot of people saying it's just natural how he just fit in. Like, what do you remember about him coming in during that time?
Again, what you just said, natural. He knew what a heel was. And it's the guy that I got to say, really grasped it if Dennis would have got in and really done this full time, yeah, he could have really been huge. And you look at Logan Paul.
Yeah.
There is no way, like as of now, because of all the time he's got in, he's really an unbelievable athlete. Um, and he has a really high wrestling IQ for not being a fan. Like he didn't grow up like a mega fan. That Logan Paul has done some shit that like shocked that he could do what he's done. And he's a natural heel. That's what Dennis Rodman was. That's what I remembered. He knew how to play the heel. And, you know, it's easy to bust people's chops and get cheap heat, but both of those guys are just natural heels.
Yeah. And like even on that, like I had a former NBA player, Tracy Murray, tell me
I
this
know
story.
Tracy.
Yeah,
I know
great guy.
Tracy.
Great guy.
Great guy.
And
Great
he
guy.
was talking about being in the arena that night, when you had the tag match with Hogan and Rodman and Malone, and he was saying a lot of NBA players went down there. It wasn't really frowned upon the league at the time, but if you see The Last Dance, it kind of was on Dennis Rodman's point. Like, did you get your heat or Hogan get heat from the NBA and this going on and being on the pay-per-view and putting those two athletes in there?
I never did. It wasn't heat on us. Dennis got a lot of heat from those guys, and he he didn't give a shit. Yeah, you know. I didn't remember it till I saw Last Dance, but the Bulls had just like completely spanked the Jazz the night before. I think they went up. I think they won it by 30 points or something absurd like that. He was a natural. Before we walked out there, there's a roll like a wrestling mat roll that you roll it out. You roll it out and you put it on the mat. Well, it was backstage for some reason, like a wrestling mat for high school, and it was rolled up. And I said, I would be willing to bet you've never hit a guy with a chair before. He goes, nope. I grabbed the chair. I said, here's how you need to hit me. Go up and come straight down. Go up and come straight down. Now, if you come through like this, boom, and I laid it flat as hell. I said, that's going to hurt like a son of a bitch, but you're not going to hurt. You're not going to injure me. But if you come down with your hands like this, look what happens. Boom. And when it put a big, like, divot in the mat. And I said, you do that? Well, you're going to break my ribs. This angle will be over before it ever starts. He goes, I'll lay it flat. And he did. And he did. So kudos to him. And it was I'm actually in, I think, the greatest sports documentary ever, The Last Dance. I'm actually in there for 3 seconds. Getting hit by, I said, Hulk, hit me first, all right? And of course, he did. I went down, and then it's got to hit me flat. So it was all good. I'll tell you, that was a spectacle. That was like nothing I had ever been a part of, because this is like a huge, real press conference. Like when Dennis came in, there was some people, originally the first year that paid attention, wrote it up, and got some eyes on it. But it was Dennis Rodman. As far as they were concerned, he's a freak show, and so are we. But when Karl Malone came in, greatness, like Karl Malone, a lot of people don't know, until LeBron just passed him and now is the leading scorer of all time. Karl Malone is number 3.
Yeah.
Not Kobe, not Michael, Karl, number 3. And he went to college. He went all the way through. So he didn't start when he was 18. What a great athlete he was. is still, he's good people.
Just want to give you the floor here to promote Change or Die for our viewers and listeners here at the Game Plan to stay up to date with everything you're doing with DDP Yoga and follow you on social media.
Well, it couldn't be a better time for you to go to ddpyoga.com because it's our biggest sale of the year. I never go over it. By the time Black Friday's over, it'll be done. So our Black Friday is coming up this Friday, but we've already got it going. We'll probably run it a week after, but that's it. And our app, what's really great, we have an awesome app already, but we're about to do a big upgrade on that thing, which is going to be super cool. I'm excited about that. I've seen the designs. It's really cool. But if you really want to know like what we do and how we do it, go on Tubi, and cost you nothing to go on there. And friggin' watch it and write a review about it, or go on TikTok and do a review. A lot of people do it there. So listen, brother, I appreciate you taking the time, and have a happy holiday, man.
Dallas, I really appreciate you sharing your time. Been super generous with your time, and I wish you all the best with this, and hope to see season 2 be in development too.
All right, brother. Have a great day.